Jeff, thank you very much for joining us. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me all right?
Jeff is the CEO and co-founder of Zeveron, and first of all, thank you very much for joining us. A lot of people
Yeah.
want to know. A lot of people are fans of Kazunoko, and they want to know what's going on. So I'm going to
Right.
start off this interview, if you will, with 2 yes or no questions, and then we'll go into detail.
Sure.
The first question is this: does Zeveron, as an organization that sponsors players, still exist?
Legally, yes.
Okay, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Question 2. Will you be able to honor the 1-year contract that was extended to Kazunoko prior to EVO?
That's still unknown right now. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Okay, now let's get into it.
Yeah.
What is going on? What are we still trying to figure out?
So I guess I kind of have to go back to the beginning. When we
us.
first signed on Kazunoko, I originally signed him on with a full contract. We worked with Bryce Bloom, who's a pretty well-known lawyer in the esports community. We worked on these contracts to have our players protected and the company protected. So I made sure that both, if things like this happen, that the company would be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Zeveron was created, I'm not actually the sole owner. I'm not even the proprietary owner. There's somebody named Tyler Liberman, who is the guy who owns 51%, basically majority of Zeveron, and so he kind of makes all the last calls. He was the one funding the company, and I was the one acting basically as CEO, so I would take care of all the work. Basically, our trade-off was he funds the company, I run everything. So when we originally agreed on this, our operating agreement for the LLC was that he would fund the company with X amount, and then I would work. If my job would be valued at that. So basically, we signed on these Heroes of the Storms players. We were salarying them. Everything was going fine. They were being paid on time. And I said, okay, maybe we can expand now. I'd been talking to a couple people in Japan for a while. Alex Valle brought up Kazunoko being a really good unsigned player. And so I got in contact with my friends in Japan, reached out to God's Garden, and we finally got, after I would say 2 months of talking, we got this contract written up, and a deal worked out with what Kazunoko was happy with. And then EVO was coming up as well, so it was just perfect timing for both of us. And so when we signed this contract, I made sure like, okay, if anything happens, he has an amount that he needs to be paid if my business partner decides to flop. And so after everything happened, I drove out to Vegas to see Kazunoko. I stayed with some friends. We were supposed to be taking care of everything, and then I get back, and some things start happening where I'm not getting told the truth a lot by Tyler. Tyler starts telling me quite a few lies. I find out about him later, and so I just start seeing things kind of going on. Somebody who was working with us, he wrote them a phony check. Their check bounced. And I started just go, okay, what's going on? Like I need a plan B just in case you decide to just bail. And so I told him, if there's an issue, I'm gonna give you back the money of what you've invested already, which isn't the actual amount that he was supposed to be investing. He was supposed to invest a large sum of money that never came. So he was just kind of going month to month paying the bills. So I said, look, I'll just pay you back what you've paid, and I'll take full proprietary ownership, and I'll just move on by myself with Alpha Draft. And so he said, okay, that's fine, because he was really showing like a disinterest of being a part of the team anymore. And so one day comes where he says, hey, is there any way we can avoid having to pay out players if we kick them? And I was kind of like, well, why would you want to do that? Like, we haven't even talked about kicking players or anything. And he says, well, I want to try to avoid the minimum, which basically our contract states if we kick a player, we pay them for that month, and then we pay them on top of that a fee that we pay so that they're not just like screwed over.
Severance or something
Yeah,
like
exactly,
that?
sort of. Yeah, so a minimum basically. And so they are taken care of, and they're not just like screwed over. And he said, well, can we get around that at all? And I said, no, that's kind of why I put it in the contract. So that
Now,
they wouldn't
Jeff,
get screwed.
I don't want to interrupt you, but for the record, these are some serious allegations, so
Right.
we're going to have to do our due diligence and talk to him. Obviously,
Yeah.
he's not on the show tonight, and we're not going to get him at, during the show. So what I want you to finish your thought, but there have been a lot of articles that have come out. The Score Esports has put out an article, Red Bull Esports has put out an
Yep.
article, and so has Shoryuken.com,
Yeah.
and they make some, they paint a different story.
Right.
So the idea is that we need to get to the truth of this.
Right.
One of the things that comes up in those articles is that you took it upon yourself to reach out to Kazunoko and did not consult your co-owner, and that he was not involved in that process whatsoever. So what can you tell us about that?
So when I reached out to Kazunoko, I have logs of everything I can show.
Okay.
Plenty. That he knew Kazunoko was signed on and everything. I mean, so I think it more paints a picture of how involved he was if he doesn't understand what the contract was. If you're a chairman of your own company and you don't understand what's going on with your company, you're doing something wrong. So I mean, Kazunoko had been on for an entire month. He was like you could see on his Skype that it said Kazunoko signed on. He wrote the article on our website for Kazunoko being signed on. So I mean, it's kind of hard to say that you didn't know somebody was being signed on when you wrote an article about it. And so the details of the contract were exactly the same as our contracts with Heroes of the Storm players. It was the exact same contract. We used a template for every single contract that we send out to our players. So it's impossible that he didn't know because it was the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I started to have more conversations. It got to August 7th, I believe, when
Not too long ago, right?
Yeah, right. So our Heroes of the Storm players hadn't been paid at all. We were waiting for Kazunoko because apparently he had to set up a PayPal or something like that. We'd been waiting for him and God's Garden to figure out a way for us to pay them through PayPal. So they were setting all of that up. And Heroes of the Storm team reaches out. They're like, hey, we haven't heard from Tyler in almost 2 weeks. We haven't been paid. We don't know what's going on. And so I reached out to Tyler. I'm like, hey, they're wondering what's going on. He said, oh, they'll be paid tomorrow at 3 p.m. I said, great. So I told the team, and they're like, that's awesome. I said, we won't take Kings of the Storm. It just happened. So I said, we won't take any percentage of the King of the Storm's win because we're late. So you can keep all the money for that. And so we kind of worked that out. The next day comes. It's 7 p.m. They're like, hey, we still haven't been paid. I talked to Tyler. I'm like, look, you need to message the players and tell them what's going on. He says, no, I don't. And, I'm like, they're your players. You got to talk to them. You tell them, you said you'd pay them yesterday. And, this is kind of the essence of Tyler. He says, I don't remember ever saying that. And I was like, okay, I have Skype logs. I can send you if you'd like. And he goes, doesn't sound like me. And so I'm just like, okay, dude, I will send you Skype logs right now of what you said, like telling me that you would pay them tomorrow at 3 p.m. so that I would tell them because you don't want to talk to them. He said, oh, I know I did. And then just ended the conversation. Like that was literally how I've been dealing with him for the past 2 weeks prior to all of this. So I said, look, if there's an issue, I'm going to pay you back. I can tell you don't want to be a part of this anymore.
That's him telling you that?
I said I would pay you back what you put into this.
Okay.
And then you can just I'll pay you back what you've put into this already. You can go free because he felt that the image was damaged or the brand image was damaged by a Facebook post from Anime California from a long time ago that ended up on Kappa and everything. I said that's fine if you feel like you can't work with me anymore. I understand. Go ahead. We'll work out a deal where I can just give you back what you paid. Just pay the players right now, and I'll take care of it by the end of the month. He said, that's great. That's awesome. I was going to work with Alpha Draft and everything. We were going to work it out. And then the next day, I get a message that says, I dissolved the company. Out of the blue, hadn't talked to him all day. Our last conversation was great. And he says, I dissolved the company. I said, are you still going to play the players at least? And he says, no, I'm no longer liable. I've dissolved the company, so I'm no longer liable to pay any of the players. So I said, why, like, what's going on? And he kind of just blew me off, and then took the Twitter, took the website. I said, I'll move on without you. That's fine. And then he takes those down, and then he announces himself that he left Zeveron. He doesn't mention anything about dissolving it. He just said, I left Zeveron on Twitter, and then just tried to be done with it. And then so I contacted the Secretary of State, and the company was never actually dissolved. There was no filing for it. And then I looked at our operating agreement, and basically our operating agreement stated, you cannot dissolve the company without all members of the LLC signing off on it. And so, I've checked about every day, and the company has never been dissolved. And so that's why I say legally the company is still there. As far as contracts being withheld, that's not my part that I can hold up right now.
But Jeff, it looks like everybody left the party, and you're
Right.
still there, holding on to this, thought of a corporation or a team or a brand.
Right.
My question to you is, I mean, you went into business with this guy. Of course, we're going to have to hear his side at some point. Is this a case of people getting in over their heads? And if so, what does that say about you going into business with him?
I can't even say that it wasn't a mistake for me. It definitely was a mistake for me to go into business with him. I think he was really in over his head. He got really scared about what was happening. He wasn't sure about the company anymore, and he didn't want to be losing money every month for no reason. So he felt like the best way to do it was just to kind of just run. And so, yeah, I think it was a mistake obviously for me to go into business with the guy. And, it's something I've learned twice now from bad business partners. And, trying to hold on to it, I'm trying to evaluate if it's worth holding on to. And I stated the only way I would ever keep the brand name is if Kazunoko stayed with us. And so Kazunoko really liked working with me and the brand, and we had a really good relationship together. And so what we worked out was, like, if I'm going to do my best to work with a potential sponsor on paying him what he's owed from the contract, and see if we can just create a steady relationship for that, and then go from there. Then I would keep him on with a new LLC and just 100% under me without Tyler involved, which was the plan from the beginning, was to get Tyler. Me and Tyler both talked about getting him out, so that he just originally funded it, and then once this became profitable, he would be bought out. So that was the original plan. It just kind of got bumped up, and then it just didn't happen at a very good time. And so Kazunoko also has a plan B. We've kind of Kazunoko's kind of already planned out something just in case it doesn't happen. So I know he's taken care of regardless if it happens or not. And I'm totally fine with the plan if he does go with that. So I know he isn't, like, in a way screwed over from all of this. I know he's taken care of just in case.
Well, that's good to hear. I noticed the Alpha Draft and the Twitch logos on your sweatshirt. Were there any other companies that have played a part in investing into this, that have talked with you, and what is your response to them?
We've talked to a couple different companies. I would say Alpha Draft is our biggest proprietor. They basically got us off the ground. They helped us out tremendously. And so they're the ones who I'd probably work with if I did end up continuing with it, is working with Alpha Draft again, because they've been just amazing help the entire time. Twitch, obviously, they got us our partnerships, so we were able to offer our partnerships to our players and stuff, and kind of help them get their streaming off. But I mean, it was taking off, and then, like, it just blew up at takeoff. I mean, we were taking off in popularity. We were becoming a decently well-known brand, and then this just kind of stopped any progress.
All right, so with all of this happening, do you feel like this would adversely affect other esport orgs about reaching out to the FGC, or vice versa, FGC trying to reach out to the esports?
I think the FGC is just really cautious about organizations, and I think I don't think I think
mean,
it's
you're proving
precedented.
it's for good reason, right?
Right, exactly. It's
All
it's
right.
a good reason that they're cautious about who their favorite players work with. Kazunoko is definitely a fan favorite, and I wouldn't have signed on Kazunoko if there wasn't a contract. If there was no legally binding contract, I wouldn't have put him in that jeopardy. It's just an anomaly that I couldn't see happening, of all of this happening. So, uh, I tried my best to make sure Kazunoko was taken care of at all times. And I don't think it's going to stop other esports organizations from getting involved, especially with Street Fighter V coming out. I think the FGC is going to grow bigger than ever. And then with other esports getting into the FGC, I really hope it doesn't, because it's obviously, I don't see it as the FGC's fault. It's nobody's fault but Zeveron's. And that's just a single company. It's happened to other esports organizations where the owner just up and disappears. I won't name anybody, but it's happened before. And so this is unfortunately not something new. It's just unfortunate that it happened.
An interesting name that you brought up was God's Garden. You said you got in contact with them. That's a big name in the Japanese fighting game community, and it's kind of been a bit separate from the Americans for a long time. They have their own tournaments. You have to pay to watch them. It's definitely not something where the gap has been bridged. Could you talk a little about your interactions with them, maybe a bit about Kazunoko's backup plan, and just how you think we can, in the future, connect together with the Japanese FGC as you managed to do once?
So God's Garden was kind of a connection through a connection. I'm connected to a lot of the esports scene in Japan because I was really looking into the Japanese scene, because I have actually a lot of faith in the Japanese scene right now, the esports scene. I think it's an up and coming thing, and I think it's something to get in on the early ground. So it was more of a friend of a friend, and God's Garden kind of acts as his agent because he works with God's Garden now, and then he doesn't speak any English, so they're able to translate for him. So they kind of act like as an agent for him to kind of scope out teams with him. So I think a lot of teams don't really, I haven't seen it, but a lot of teams don't really look at the Japanese scene yet because it's not developed. And I think that's one thing that teams aren't doing right, is that they're waiting until a game is actually developed to get into it rather than developing the scene with the game. Developing the team with the scene, as you would say. So getting into the Japanese scene isn't difficult. It's just about kind of reaching out to them. I know they want to work with people. I know a lot of Japanese players and teams want to work with the American scene. It's just really hard for them to get in contact with them because they don't know who to go to. So I hope people do start getting into that scene. And as for Kazunoko's future, or plan B sort of, that's kind of for them to announce. It's not my business to kind of talk about. That's when they want to announce that, if that does happen, that I'll leave that to them.
Jeff, you mentioned that the Japanese players are hungry to be in the esports scene in the United States and to be talking to sponsors. I hope that this doesn't, as Ray asked about or alluded to, adversely affect that.
Yeah.
But it seems to me like this was a case of trying to run before you could walk. Mistakes were made. What would you do different if you could do it over?
I think that's exactly what it is running before learning to walk. I think we kind of just took off a little too fast. We tried to do a little too much too early. And I think we gained a lot of confidence through the Alpha Draft sponsorship that we were kind of taking off pretty fast. And so I wanted to kind of just get into the scene and start running, because I felt like a lot of teams maybe they want to, but they don't know where to start. And we had this Heroes of the Storm team that was taking off really fast, and we just decided to capitalize on it. Mm-hmm. And I guess if I could do it again, it would be with a different person, obviously, if not by myself. And I would not put anybody else in jeopardy unless I knew the money was there, like already in an account for us to work with, basically.
Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on the show and talking to us. A lot of people are very concerned. A lot of people have a lot of love for Kazunoko. You should have seen his Twitter blowing up when all this news started to hit. He was saying, thank you so much for all the well wishes. We hope that this can be repaired. There's still plenty of tournaments left in the Capcom Pro Tour, and hopefully he can still get to them.
Yeah,
whether through you
I
guys or
don't think
somebody
he'll
else.
have an issue with that at all. I think God's Garden takes care of him really well.
Well, Jeff, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
Basically a message to the FGC. You know, I apologize for what happened. I really, really didn't want to put anybody in jeopardy, especially Kazunoko. I think Kazunoko is a great player. He's a great person. He's a great friend. And I really hope you guys don't take this as a message from esports of not being able to trust teams. You know, there are a lot of teams out there who do really well and who would take very good care of Kazunoko. And so I know he will be taken care of.
Jeff, thank you very much for your time, man. I appreciate you
Absolutely.
coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Certainly.
I mean, it sounds like he really wants him to do well, which I appreciate at the very least.
You know, it definitely sounds like that. The guy did not seem like he has bad intentions to me in any way, shape, or form. It seems, I mean, I think it speaks to your character if you can straight up apologize.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
listen,
for
it
sure.
was a mistake. We didn't mean it to work out this way. That being said, it's a damn shame, you know, and it's like confusing and frustrating and almost a little embarrassing, to be honest. Actually, quite embarrassing. Donka, you've been sponsored by numerous sponsors. How does it feel when you're in that game and you know you're sponsored one day and then you're not? I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I'll be honest. The team's really big now, Daily Esports. The fighting game team was a little less specific. We didn't sign contracts. We just kind of had checks flying under the table for stuff. And I think that's how a lot of these kind of smaller sponsors started. I know Zeveron's obviously different. They have contracts, and they got into bigger issues with that. So I think for the players, you have to be really cautious if you're going to take it as a big deal. You either have to plan out in advance a contingency for whether you don't have the money if they don't give it to you, or you need to just treat it as an extra, you know?
You know, it's funny, or maybe not that funny, but our Kappa was sponsoring Kazunoko for a couple of events, and I kind of feel like saying, hey, man, there's always our Kappa. Those guys love you, and they do good work down there. And shout-outs to them for sponsoring Kazunoko and a lot of other Asian players. Final thoughts, Ray? What do you think about what Jeff had to say?
I mean, like, he owned up to his mistakes. Like, he wants to move forward. It's just from here on, what does he do with Kazunoko? Does he actually take care of him? Does he live up to the words he says? Like, I think that's what we'll be looking for because, I mean, a great player like Kazunoko, we don't want to see bad things happen to him. We really love him, want to see him play. So let's just hope for the best.
So he has, I mean, if you notice, we didn't get a definitive answer. Is he going to be sponsored or not? He has until the end of the month. His deal with Kazunoko stipulates that by the end of the month, he will have an answer. Yes, I have a sponsor for you. Or yes, we can afford to keep you on and fulfill your one-year contract. Or no, we don't.
And then they should have to pay him, probably, from what it sounds like. But who, you know, it's all shaky ground.
So we'll see, man. In the meantime, I'm just interested as to, I guess, the angle on it that kind of, it makes sense. What game is popular? What players are popular? Let's go out and get them. We're an esports organization. But, man, I want to see them do it right when they come into the FGC because there is trepidation.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this really, you know, it's a step back in my opinion. So props to Jeff for coming on the show and explaining to us what the current state of things are, and good luck to them.
Got him. Got him.
Wow, and then took up space after that. I feel like Kazunoko was trying to make this a fast game. Pressing buttons, and that's not what PR Rog wants.
That's not Kazunoko's game. That's PR Balrog's game. He should not try to close out Eduardo as fast as possible. He should definitely try to play smart.
Oh!
Got the stun. All right, he made me into a liar. I like rush down 2. He reversaled something there,
Yeah,
by
I don't
the
know
way.
what it was.
Definitely not something invincible. 1, 2.
Wow, okay, now it's getting
PR
into
Rog
territory.
knows something that we don't
Yeah.
right now, for sure.
Okay. Salvaged. Kazunoko backs off just to get right back in. Nice anti-air.
Yep.
Well placed.
And now I've noticed that Eduardo is saving the rushing upper.
Again, just placing that very well, looking for the little stabs. Wants to try to range out that EX lunge punch from Yun. Red focus is in. Not a lot of damage on this, but corner carry.
Oh no.
Wow,
damage
those
here.
Balrog combos! Character-specific combos out of Kazunoko. There it
That
is.
was nice.
The closeout.
Okay, so Kazunoko takes game number 1.
Okay. He's done wake up jab a lot. Something that I'm used to seeing out of Kazunoko. PR Rog is making it work for himself. Yeah,
Nice
again.
confirmed.
Wow.
Amazing combo. Did not get the end, but that is okay.
Oh, didn't quite get it. Kazunoko's still alive.
Got him. That move is not invincible, just very fast and annoying.
Yeah, in fact, the X lunge punch, you can knock it out of the air. It's not, doesn't even have that great of a hitbox, to be honest. That doesn't stop it from being really, really good.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like in that situation there, whenever you block that lunge punch, you kind of have to guess between whether he's going to throw you or go for an up kicks. Up kicks are invincible. Oh, man. Destruction.
Ooh!
So this is potentially the final round for PR Balrog in this tournament. He's going to have to do some soul searching. Got the hit. That should have been an EX upper, I feel like. Checked him.
Yeah, willing to do it. Gotta challenge sometimes, or else Kazunoko's just gonna run over you.
Of course, he's just going to continue to pressure. This is looking good right now. One more hit is stun, I think. Looks like,
Oh, did he press the button?
no way,
No!
no way, no way.
You're right. All right, game 1 for Rog, so now it's tied 1-1.
You know, with situations like that, the order that things happen is really important to remember. And last time, PR Balrog committed to a poke. So this time, he was probably more likely to backdash or wait and back off.
It's rare to do the same thing 2 times in a row at this level.
Not at this level of the game, I'm with you.
Okay.
That did so much damage.
I love PR Rog just jumping away. Tried the anti-air, but jump medium kick. If that had been dive kick, anti-air might have been there.
Again, the focus break. The
Ooh!
Ultra. No, he
No!
missed it. He missed it. Oh, and he's paying for it.
Yeah, big
Right
time.
back at you. He might be dead. This does so much. Ouch.
That is a killer drop for PR Rog.
Yeah, he looks disappointed. He definitely wanted an Ultra there.
Yes.
Shades of Capcom Cup with that one. All right, early hit. Extended combo. Nice. There's the OS, another one.
Yeah, he knows Kazunoko does not like to block. That's for sure. Oh, and a
Oh,
stun
man.
even.
Big jumping combo upcoming. Nope.
Wow. Good stuff. PR Rog, he just waited it out. We're going down to the final round on this. Winner goes to top 8.
So serious in here right now. I'm scared.
Everything's riding on this. The whiff punish, and he had shoulder and into red focus and didn't bring it out.
I think that caught an up kicks there. The down jab. Nice delay. Oh my
Good
goodness.
catch.
He's so on point.
Yeah, good catch.
Oh,
PR
right
Rog
of
trying
the
to get
bar.
away.
Nice.
Oh, comes in for the grab.
This is huge.
Okay, here comes Kazunoko now for his own grab. Pressure.
Oh,
From the
that was
front.
in front? Good block. No
Oh,
punish.
the
No
okie
punish.
doke. On neither one was there a punish.
Yep.
And now we're down to the final. Oh,
Good block.
who can find it?
No, no,
Out of the
Ultra.
air.
He's
He
dead.
got
He's
him.
dead.
He got him.
Nice.
He got him.
PR Balrog. That was ridiculously clutch. That was so close. Kazunoko's out. I had Kazunoko to win this tournament, by the way. And
I think-
he is now out.
I think that was a good pick on your part, honestly. But PR Rog takes him out, and PR Rog has made top 8 at EVO once again.
Escape Rad. Sounds like a little girl right now. That's okay. He was Stone Cold Steve Austin not long ago.